All agents are the same in the industry. We're going to address that tonight over the next 10 to 15 minutes, giving you the difference of what to look out for so you don't actually think that. So if you are thinking all agents are the same, you may not quite have the toolbox there to identify if they are or not. So we're going to give you some of those items tonight to have a look at with Lisa Novak.
Perfect. Hey,
Mark
guys.
Novak, how are you?
Good. Coming off the back of an extremely busy day today. Oh my God. Yes.
What's happening out there today?
It's been crazy. So I've done 6 appraisals today.
Wow.
I've been called in for about 8.
Wow.
Yeah. It's really busy.
And that's pretty much what people are asking you today when they get you out. So just so for anyone who's watching a market appraisal, someone wants to sell.
Yeah.
They want to just not know what price you're potentially going to get for their home. They want to look at your strategy of how you're going to sell it. They want to meet you. So you were in, when you say you're doing an appraisal, people ring you up, you're going out, you're having a look through their house. Now, do you tell them a price on the spot or do you come back?
Not always. It depends on what they need. So things changed a little bit actually in our business because generally the industry does the 2-touch approach where we go out, we have a look at the property because we never really know what we're going to, right?
Yes.
And then we'll come back, we'll reappoint and we'll come back to them with some pricing.
Go back to your homework.
Correct. Yeah, of course. And look at comparables and things like that. I don't always. Particularly if it's an apartment that I really know well, if it's an area that I really know well, or a property that I'm familiar with, I won't always. And sometimes vendors, we're all just like spoiled brats now, right? We don't want to wait for stuff. So, a vendor that calls me and says, Lisa, I want you coming out and doing an appraisal. They want to know pricing quite quickly. They want to get the property on the market quite quickly. They don't want to wait for me to go back and do that. So, I will bring pricing with me. Sometimes I'll have to adjust it on the spot while I'm there based on experience and, markets and things like that. But yeah, I would say about 80% of the time I will take pricing with me.
Because that's definitely changed when you're looking at, when we're talking about all agents being the same. The speed to market, the speed on market, the speed response time to prospective purchasers, just the sheer awesome speed that business is being done in property. And I think in most things we haven't actually realised. So if you've been an agent 3 years ago to 6 years ago to 9 years ago, even just that speed's completely different.
Well, everything's changed, hasn't it? And I'm always saying, if you look at how we order food these days, or if you look at how we order an Uber these days, that's changed. If we've got to wait too long, we order food these days based on not what we feel like, but what can be at our doors quicker.
Yep.
So our expectations on service and turnaround times has changed dramatically. And that kind of wraps in quite a lot, Mark, to, what people are looking for in an agent as well. We're not all the same. We all come in different shapes and sizes.
Yes.
However,
your shape a bit better than my shape.
Questionable after having a few days off. But we all. The reality is, not all agents are the same. Not all vendors are the same. With all the appraisals that I've done today, every single vendor requires something differently. The thing is that as agents, we also just have to stop and listen to what it is that vendors want. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to what a vendor wants, and there's no one-size-fits-all campaign that's going to work for every single property either.
Yeah. And women are a bit better than listening to people than men.
Well, I always start off asking a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I do. I always start off asking a lot of questions. What is important to the vendor? Is it price? Is it time? Do they need the property sold quickly? What's important to them? What do they need from me as an agent? And I think that's a question that we forget to ask as agents a lot. But, all agents are different. Trust me. As an industry, Mark, as agents, we're coming up against different agents all the time.
I think authenticity is another good one.
Yes.
Like that authenticity. When you're dealing with someone and they're talking like a drone, when they're, in any environment, it's not very appealing because that's the person that you're putting opposite your best buyer. So the more interactive that person is, the better question asking that person is, like you've just said.
Look,
The more rapid fire, like we've just said, they are.
Yeah.
There's better chance that they're going to extract what you need out of your property sale.
and look, I think if you're a seller and you're watching this, it's hard for you guys to choose an agent. It is hard, but you know what it is that you're looking for. So as a real estate agent, that's what I was saying, Mark, I'll always go into a listing presentation asking my vendors what it is that they need. I remember I signed up a property. It was last year. It was in Balgala. And I walked in and there were 8 listing presentations sitting on the dining table. And I said to the vendor, are they all listing presentations? And she said, they are. I said, you've had that many agents through? She said, I have. I said, you know what? I remember I closed my presentation. I said, you actually don't need another agent. I need to know what you need, because if you've had 8 agents come through and you haven't been able to choose one of those agents, something's missing here.
Well said.
Something is missing here. So what do you need? She said, you know what? I just needed someone to ask me that. And I ended up signing up that property on the spot because all of those 8 agents forgot to ask the vendor what they needed. They just went into autopilot. They pulled out the listing presentation and they just went through it from front to back, and there's the spiel. That's what your property's worth. Look, vendors know these days what their property's worth. That data is available to everybody. They've got an idea of what a property is worth.
And I think if you genuinely think that something is same, are you right? Are you right or are you not? Like, it's not like a product where, with certain products out there, they are, the generic brand and they are all the same. But here you're talking about strategy, personality, some of the things items that we've spoken about, some of the things we're going to speak about. They're big. They're really big things.
Yeah.
So I think if you are genuinely thinking that you're finding it hard to select between a couple of agents when renting out your property, or select a couple of agents when selling your property, I actually genuinely think that you probably haven't met your right agent. Keep going, because that's, if you're not feeling that someone is distinctly resonating with you and that they are all the same, then I think you're right.
And also it's critical to work out of the agents that you're going to be interviewing, and usually a vendor or a seller is interviewing, I would suggest 2 to 3 agents. That's about the norm in the industry. What is the agent doing over and above the other agents? All right, because in a hot market like what we're seeing right now in Sydney, it's not that difficult to be able to take vendor paid money and get onto the portals, turn up to your open homes on Wednesdays and Saturdays,
which is realestate.com and domain.
Sorry, realestate.com and domain
Yep.
So the two big real estate portals.
Every agent's the same. They all can do that.
You're pretty much guaranteed that you're going to have a flurry of buyers turning up at an open home.
Yep.
The question is, what is the agent going to do over and above that? I think that's the question. Certainly if we were selling, that's what I would want to know.
Yeah.
Mr. or Mrs. Agent, what are you going to do over and above every other agent that I'm likely going to be interviewing? That's number one. Number two, I think a lot of sellers get caught up on the commission thing. And I know Tom Panos did a really good spiel on this last night.
Yeah.
I was literally listening to every single word that he said. The commission thing is a big thing, right? Because I think a lot of agents naturally assume that they're going to get chosen maybe on commission.
Yep.
And a lot of sellers naturally assume that commission is somewhat negotiable because the other agents have come in at a set rate. As a seller, I would always be skeptical of the cheapest agent in the room.
Yep.
I would always be skeptical of that.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly always saying this in my pitch to when I'm sitting opposite a vendor. If that agent is a lot cheaper, maybe that's the only tool in their belt.
But how can cheap ever mean good value?
Well, it doesn't. It
How
really
can
does.
Cheap always means cheap is cheap is cheap is cheap. But you know what I've noticed, Lise? Less people with clients getting agents through properties. The industry is getting less agents through their properties and making their agent selection even before they've even met their agents.
Correct.
It's an affirmation. So when we were meeting clients 5-15 years ago, it was, hello, I'm Mark, and this is what I do. Now, as soon as you walk in the door and there's 2 agents, they go, Mark, and it's like, how do you know that? And it's much more that personalities are out there much more online. People are making decisions on which agent they're going to use and the difference in their real estate agents before they've even rung them and got them through the door.
100%.
It's just a like, this is the guy. So it's normally only 2 now, not 5 or 4 that people used to get through.
It's true. And also these days, obviously as an agency, we do a lot on social media in case you hadn't noticed. And I'll often find, I'll be called into a listing presentation because people have already done that digital interview on me.
Yeah, the digital.
So I'll get called in. I mean, today, quite a few appraisals that I did, they were like, we're not actually going to interview anyone else because we feel like we already have a relationship with you. We feel like we know you. That's amazing. So, again, sellers, everyone is privy to this kind of information these days. And, again, if you're a seller, guys, and you've got that agent that's come in and they're like, I'm the number one in the area and I do this and I do that. All that information is all public information. You can jump onto the likes of realestate.com. You can punch in that agent's name and you can actually see how many properties they've been selling. It's there. It's all there. And as I said, all of that information is public information. And again, on social media, I'm often coming up against other agents. Say, we do social media as well. There's social media and there's social media. Putting up an Instagram feed with a sold sticker is not exactly interacting with buyers. That's great as an agent for your profile, but that's not actually going to assist your sellers. So again, always be looking to see what that agent is doing over and above just taking that vendor paid advertising.
That's well said. And also I want to say g'day to Paul Anthony, g'day to
Hey, Paul.
And guys, this is a live audience. So if there are any questions, and we are talking about are all real estate agents the same? If you do have an opinion, positive, negative, or whatever it is, love to hear it. Feel free to make a comment. We'll address it live on the spot, and even share this with friends and family that are just about to choose an agent for rentals or for sales. And this can help them. They don't particularly have to be in the northern beaches of Sydney, anywhere in Australia, and that can help even, I think Philip's in the UK, so anywhere in the world.
And, look, it is always a really, really hard thing because the agent that you may choose to go with may very well not be the agent that you initially thought you were signing up with, right? Like I just heard a story today, a local agent. Unfortunately, I had missed the listing at the time. I'm actually getting it second time around. They had an awful experience.
We call that a clean-up.
I call it post-market selling. It's my new term. It's post-market selling instead of pre-market, it's post. And it is the clean-up, Mark.
Yep.
It's the agent that they signed up with, and unfortunately things didn't turn out. These vendors in particular had an awful experience with a local agent. And what happened was,
can you just explain exactly what awful experience is? Like not to be negative Nancy, but just to illustrate to people as an example of how, if you're not choosing the right agent, it can cost you time, it can cost you money and some emotion. But what are some of those things?
So they signed up, a well-known local agent. They signed up with this person, and first open home took place, no-show, agent no-showed, assistant turned up. Massive red flag there, guys. Ask the agents that you're interviewing, Lisa, will you be conducting all of those open homes yourself? I would never sign up a listing and palm it off to one of my assistants ever.
Very common.
Extremely common in our industry.
High volume agent is often not at every open house or every showing. A high volume agent is sending the rookie in.
Yeah, so that was
sometimes
that was a shocker. That already sent alarm bells ringing. Then this particular agent was turning up late to open homes, leaving early from open homes.
Just so they could say that yes, they did appear at the open house, but they weren't there early to the end.
Giving some false information, unfortunately, about buyers that had come through the property. And it was just all in all, without going into great detail, all in all, it was
There's
just
some of the things where you can.
It was it was not a
We've
great
a lot
experience
of agents taking holidays.
That was the other thing, actually.
Yeah.
They signed up the vendor and then went away on a holiday.
Good question to ask. Are you taking any leave during the selling of my property?
Correct. Yeah. The other thing is, here's a trick, guys. Here's a trick that not many people know. When you have decided to choose your agent, even though it may say on an agency agreement that the agreement period lasts, let's suggest for a period of 90 days, you can actually negotiate that agreement
That's huge.
period
That's a great one.
with the agent.
That's a great
So
one.
if for whatever reason, look, as agents, we we all can't get every listing. It'd be lovely to think that we can, but sometimes we do not, get the listing. I will always say to that vendor, can I offer you some advice? Enter into a shorter agreement if you can with the agent, because sometimes, not always, but sometimes the agent that you think you're getting is not the agent that appears at your open homes during the campaign.
Look, it's like a job interview, guys. How would you know in a job interview that person's going to roll out to be amazing? You don't know. When you see that person in action with traction, you get a pretty good idea, which is normally a couple of, how long till you realise you got a shit agent? 2 weeks, 4 weeks?
I reckon within the first couple of weeks. Lack of communication is a big one.
So having a short leash on your agency agreement means that you can swap out your real estate agent if you got a dud.
Correct.
So normally they'll ask for 90 or 120 days.
Yep.
We would suggest probably something like 30.
Yeah. Like, I said to this vendor today who had a terrible experience with this other agent I just mentioned, I said to them today, guys, I do not want to put you under any more pressure. You just give me a 14-day agreement and let's just go from there.
Now, a good operator isn't scared about, I want to lock these guys in long. A good operator is like, you know what? Don't even worry about the length. I'm going to work real hard. I'm going to get you a great result and you're going to love me the whole way along. You're not going to want to get out. Short or long agreement, doesn't matter. Do what you want, whatever makes you feel comfortable.
Another really good tip, something again I use today and I use quite often, is I will say to a potential vendor, I'll tell you what, you go onto realestate.com to the sold section, because even if I've sold properties off pre-market off social media, all my solds are still there on realestate.com. They kindly let us put them onto the sold section of realestate.com.
Even if you haven't sold
even if I haven't sold through that portal.
We still upload all of our sales for free so clients can enjoy the information.
So I use this quite a lot, guys. This is a really good one for you agents out there. I often will say to these prospective vendors, I tell you what, why don't you go and choose 3 properties that I've sold, any properties at all that you like, and I'm very happy to put you in touch with those vendors and they can tell you what the experience was like, rather than me having the 3 generic testimonials or the lovely video testimonials that so many of us in the industry do. I said, you hand choose whichever ones you like, and I'm very happy to put you in touch with those vendors. All right, that's another good thing.
Can't go wrong. Pretty ballsy.
Can't go wrong there. We've got a question. Hey, Sanjeev, hope you're well. Hey, Novax, what is your favourite strategy for social media selling? Oh, gosh, there's too many. But a favourite one would
Repetition.
Yes.
Consistency.
It's the consistency. So we've got a young guy here, Billy, who just started with us, absolute weapon. And he asked me a very similar question tonight. He said, what do I do, Lisa? I really want to start to do a lot of social media stuff. And I said, just do it. Just do it consistently. The big mistake that a lot of agents do and where they don't really succeed with social media and selling property there is they give up too soon.
Yep.
It takes time. It really takes time.
It's like watering a plant. Water it once, it will grow. Water it all the time, lots, but not too much.
Yeah.
And it'll do really well. But what's too much social mediaing?
I don't think there is too much anymore. As
long as it's good, helpful information.
Yeah.
If you're whacking the same property up 3 times a day with the same description, I think you got a problem.
Yeah.
But if you're offering something that people want and that people want to share and that people are genuinely interested in, you can't get too much of it, eh?
Well, they can't. And the great thing is that if people don't want to see it anymore, or, say I've got a buyer who's following me and they've bought, well, they can just simply unfollow. So I think when you're giving people that great content, your tribe of followers, the right style of content that they find engaging and interesting, I don't think you can give enough of that.
It's very true.
Yeah, I really don't. I don't think that you can.
So on signing out, all agents are the same, or are they? The answer is
definitely not.
And in summary, on the back of what?
No, they are definitely not. So look, there's things that will be the same, that should be the same. Okay, one of those things should be pricing of a property. And again, if I'm going into a listing presentation, a vendor says, really, I just had James here from blah, blah agency, and he said my property was worth $300,000 more. The question you've got to ask is, we're all using the same data.
Yep.
So I would want to know how they're able to justify that, because there's your recent comparable sales. I've just sold quite a few properties in this area, and I'm just wondering how they came to that pricing if we're all using that same data. So the pricing for a vendor's property should be the same. Would you agree?
Look, it's like a race car. You can get a great driver, a pro, behind that same vehicle, pulling a quicker lap. Fact. Do you know what I mean? So there, it is like you go, no, it's same. It's same car. No, same property. No. If you get that right agent in front of your best buyer, they are going to rip a phenomenal price.
Without a doubt.
For sure.
Yep.
And if you put a rubbish agent in front of that same buyer, there could be 50 to 100 grand's difference of what the ability that agent's going to extract
100%.
out of that person. So you're playing with your own money here, and to invest a little bit more in a great agent rather than a cheap agent, I reckon there's 100% on it.
Yeah.
Just like a race car driver, just like a doctor,
Without a doubt.
just like
But do you
what's
want to know?
what's that saying that with the fixing a someone told me the other day, they are getting a television fixed. This was 10 years ago. They got the telly fixed. The guy, they walked in with a telly. The guy opened the case, changed the circuit, gave it back, and said within 5 minutes, said that's $250. And the guy goes, "What? You're going to charge me $250 for 5 minutes?" He goes, "No, I'm going to charge you $250 for 15 years experience plus 5 minutes."
I love that. And it's so true. It is so, so true. But Mark, do you want to know what I think the most important thing is when choosing an agent? Do you want to know what that is?
No, I don't care.
Authenticity and honesty. Authenticity and honesty. I think too many agents try to be agents, and at the end of the day, what a vendor wants is a human being. That's what they want. They want a human being. I won a listing today, and a really, really good listing today, because I was the agent that walked in. I asked what my vendors wanted. I wanted to know what was important to them. And I was extremely honest with my pricing. Now, with the pricing that I gave them on the property, I maybe came in lower than the other agents. I know I did because of the dialogue that we had around that. And I said to them, do you know what? I've given you extremely honest pricing. What the property is going to sell for, that's a different story. We don't know that until we've actually taken the property out to the buyers. They so appreciated the authenticity and the honesty. I won the listing based on that. And I think that is the number one most important thing that vendors are looking for. Then they want to look for the agent that is going to negotiate the best sale price for them.
Bit of a bulldog.
How are they going to do that?
You want someone that, you want a bit of a showman that way.
Yep.
You don't want to push around. That's like, this is what commission I'm going to pay you, and they can't negotiate their own fee for themselves. How are they going to negotiate your price, the price of your property, if they can't negotiate their own fee?
Absolutely.
It's rubbish.
Absolutely. And when you start ticking off these boxes of what these vendors are looking for, because you've listened as an agent, you've asked the right questions, when you get to the commission, I generally find it's quite irrelevant.
Yep.
And just on that note, I actually do a flexi fee. And again, Tom was addressing this last night, Tom Panos, in his Sunday night rant. I do a flexi fee. And the reason I do a flexi fee is because I actually don't want to be chosen on commission. I'm not scared of it.
Tell everyone about that, Lisa. I really like this.
So I actually introduced what's called a flexi fee, which is a range.
What do you mean you introduced
a fee
it?
range. I introduced it as a sales agent during COVID.
Was it your idea?
I don't know if it was my idea, but I introduced it as part of my strategy. Well, where did it come from?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Actually, it was Jordan. It was Jordan.
Possibly.
But it's been the greatest tool for your clients, because you are so over and above in your service and pricing and things like that, that they see that and they're like, shit, I want to pay you more.
Yeah. So, I take the commission discussion off the table by giving my options what's called a flexi fee. So it's a range. It's a commission range. Yeah. And I say, Mark, That's the range. You pay me what you feel is fair based on service and results.
It's a bull
when
terror.
we're done.
It's
when
a
we're
bull
done.
terror.
I don't want you to choose me on being the cheapest or the most expensive agent. That's not how I want to operate.
And all those emotions that people are feeling in choosing an agent actually go away, because you are the judge and you are the jury at the end of the trial. So as a client, you're saying, but agents are trying to make you the judge and jury at the beginning of the trial. They're trying to say, look, we want you to preempt the whole thing, and by what you're doing is putting the power, the sword in the client's hands, saying, you know what, you just enjoy the show and price. And if you are happy with the service and the products and the show and everything that we do at the end, you pin the tail on the donkey with commission. I'm telling you guys, it's the most powerful thing to do.
It really,
and you do it magically.
Yeah, it really is. And look, there's always this awkward discussion anyway, because you always sense that vendors are always a bit awkward with the whole commission discussion anyway. Yeah. I never am. I mean, if that's what they want to know up front, that is exactly what I tell them. If they want to know that over the phone, that's exactly what I will tell them. But, you know, it is an absolute game changer, without a doubt. I get asked a lot, but don't. In fact, a vendor just asked me before. He said, but wouldn't most people just pay you at the bottom end? And I'll be really honest and transparent about this. I rarely get paid at the lowest end, even though I've given them that scale of where the range.
Percentage-wise, how many pay? So say it's how many are paying at the top end of the band percentage-wise?
About 60%.
How many are paying at the bottom end of the band that you're giving them?
About 10%.
And everyone in the middle? The rest?
All in the middle, yep.
It's pretty good.
So not a lot. And again, that's just purely based on service and results. Yeah.
For a customer to be able to do that, that is amazing.
And I love that. I love that they've got the power then of controlling what my commission looks like at the end when we're successfully sold, you know, and it's been a really, really pleasant experience for them.
Well, it's a show.
Yeah.
Hopefully we have helped you and you will benefit from the information that we've given you tonight. And if you do know anyone that you can think it can help or can benefit from it, tag them in, share this with them. It helps us as well.
Absolutely.
And why do we do this? Why do we do the show?
Help people. Yeah. Give people this information. This is really hard information to find anywhere. There's obviously a few phenomenal people that do this really, really well in the industry. We try and give you guys as much information as possible on a range of topics relating to real estate and property and all sorts of bits and pieces.
This is dining room table conversations that we're having, and it's really nice to make them public, because the only other way you're going to get it is to sit opposite the real estate agent at the dining room table and ask them to appraise your property. So I love sharing this because people can say, okay, well, that's the general course of Q&A, what's discussed, how's discussed, watched it. It's really arming consumers that are buying or selling or doing any sort of real estate transaction, even if they're, you know, renting in any capacity, and then it makes you have a bit of a sharper blade. We even get a lot of real estate agents watching as well.
Can I just finish off by saying something?
Yes.
I had a really, really, really well-known real estate agent call me the other morning. I'm not going to say who.
Yeah.
I reckon he's one of the biggest names in real estate as far as real estate agents go. He wanted to ask about the social media strategy and if it worked, and was sort of picking my brain about it. I was extremely flattered.
John McGrath?
No, I can't say who. No, it wasn't John. It wasn't John McGrath. John is actually exceptionally supportive. It wasn't John McGrath. It was an active real estate agent. I'm not going to say, because I think that's it's a bit yucky to say. But he called up and was, you know, really complimentary and wanted to know if the whole social media thing worked. And I thought, wow, that's phenomenal that it's been noticed by this particular person.
In New South Wales?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, they're in New South Wales.
Big agent, New South Wales, big numbers. Wow.
Yeah, but you know, there's a fine example of agents, because we do the pre-market strategy here, that are doing something differently in the industry, where if we're sitting at a listing presentation, that's a massive standout point.
Yeah.
That we can offer that to a vendor, a pre-market strategy, get their property out instantly, $0 marketing, test the market there. We don't get the knock your socks off offer. Then we're launching out to those real estate portals.
And that information or IP that we're sharing tonight is IP that some of the best agents in the country are asking us. So that IP is great, you know, so hopefully it's helped people out there.
Hope so.
Love you, everyone.
Have a great week, everybody. Thank you so much for all your interacting. Jen, I hope you're well. Hope you're smashing it out there. Thank you, guys. Starting out as a real estate agent, very helpful. Great industry to be in, Phil. Really great industry to be in. Good luck. If we can help, we're always here.
Love ya.
See you guys.
Take care. Bye. Bye. Bye.